Judges statistically reserve harsher sanctions within sentencing guidelines for black men more than any other group. That's according to data from the Sentencing Project. I'm Jessica Larche, and for more than 3 years, I've been covering the case of a Portsmouth man who says he became a part of that number. Ronald Davis spent nearly 30 years in prison for a string of robberies he committed as a high school senior. His original sentence was 80 years, even though no one was killed or injured. He told me he deserved to do hard time, but he says he didn't deserve to die in prison. He says others like him will if sentencing disparities aren't addressed.
I feel good for my son to be home. I love him to death.
On December 1st, Joan Davis welcomed her son Ronald home. Incarcerated at 18, free at 44.
It happened. By the grace of God, it happened.
Yes.
He would have been 98 years old before he earned his freedom if it weren't for former Governor Ralph Northam setting an earlier release date before leaving office.
It validated what I was saying, that I shouldn't die in prison for those crimes.
What do you say to people who don't agree that you got out early?
I mean, justice system gets it wrong. They don't always get it right. You got innocent guys in prison now.
Davis doesn't deny his role in the robberies, but he doesn't believe he deserved what amounted to a life sentence.
What would you tell the victims of the robberies?
That I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry that I took them through that. You know, going back, I do feel for those victims. I was wrong. I deserve to be punished. I understand that. But for me to die in a prison cell, you know, I just thought that was a bit excessive.
According to the Virginia State Crime Commission, black males were found to receive sentences that were 50% longer than white males.
There's a whole prison of Ronald Davis I just left. Whole prison of them.
That includes Davis' co-defendant, Ron Brown. He was sentenced to more than 70 years behind bars for their robbery spree. Governor Northam didn't pardon him. His release date is in 2064.
You know, the same exact thing for the same exact crimes. And he's still in prison, still fighting for his life.
And there's the York County case that made national headlines. In 2001, a judge sentenced Lauren Stevens at 18 years old to 1,823 years for robbery. His white co-defendant got 10 years. Stevens received a pardon before Northam's term ended too.
Our systems of power have been rooted in racism from their inception.
I spoke to Portsmouth Commonwealth's attorney Stephanie Morales about sentencing disparities last year. She says in Virginia there is no path for prosecutors to help rectify excessive sentences of the past. The idea of a so-called second look law has historically failed in the General Assembly.
As prosecutors, we cannot look at a case and say, this is grossly disproportionate. This is grossly unfair.
Former Newport News prosecutor Matt Danielson helped send Davis to prison. His only recourse to help get that sentence shortened was to help his plea for a pardon.
The facts really don't justify the amount of time that he got. It was really a product of the sentencing guidelines and the mandatory minimums for firearms.
Mandatory minimum sentences force judges to impose at least some time for certain crimes, but a Virginia State Crime Commission report revealed mandatory minimums have not helped eliminate sentencing disparities. Norfolk Commonwealth's attorney Ramin Fadahi told me mandatory minimums can contribute to excessive sentences.
This is not an argument that people should serve less time than they deserve. Everybody should serve every day that they deserve to serve. They simply shouldn't serve a day more.
Davis says he's focused on the future and family and shining a light on what he calls cracks in the justice system.
Reaching back, to those, that's left behind.
Attorney and Washington and Lee law professor John Shapiro led the efforts for Davis' pardon, and he's doing the same for his co-defendant Ron Brown. He was also sentenced after parole was abolished in Virginia, so a pardon from the governor is his best chance. We're also working to learn if state leaders will take up efforts to push a second look law again. If passed, it could allow prosecutors and judges to review cases with hefty sentences. Jessica Larche, News 3.